Hello there, and welcome to LitWorks, a podcast dedicated to exploring some of history's best literary works. I'm your host, AJ Crimson, and I sincerely hope you learned something new today. Thank you for joining me.
They Flee From Me by Sir Thomas Wyatt, published in the year 1557. They flee from me, that sometime did me seek, with naked foot stalking in my chamber. I have seen them, gentle, tame and meek, that now are wild and do not remember, that sometime they put themselves in danger, to take bread at my hand, and now they range, busily seeking with a continual change. Thank be fortune, it hath been otherwise, 20 times better, but once in special. In thin array, after a pleasant guise, when her loose gown from her shoulders did fall, and she me caught in her arms, long and small. Therewith all sweetly did me kiss, and softly said, Dear heart, how like you this? It was no dream, I lay broad waking, but all this turned, thorough my gentlessness, into a strange fashion of forsaking, and I have leave to go of her goodness, and she also to use newfangledness. But since that I so kindly am served, I fain would know what she hath deserved. A Virginal by Ezra Pound, written in the year 1912. No, no, go from me. I have left her lately. I will not spoil my sheath with lesser brightness, for my surrounding air hath a new lightness. Slight are her arms, yet they have bound me straitly, and left me cloaked as with a gauze of ether, as with sweet leaves, as with a subtle clearness. Oh, I have picked up magic in her nearness, to sheath me half in half the things that sheath her. No, no, go from me, I have still the flavor, soft as spring wind that's come from birchen bowers. Green come the shoots, April in the branches. As winter's wound, with her slight hand she staunches. Half of the trees a likeness of the savor, as white their bark, so white this lady's hour. The Expensive Spirit by William Shakespeare, written in the year 1609. The expensive spirit, in a waste of shame, is lust in action, and till action lust, is perjured, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust, enjoyed no sooner but despise straight, past reason hunted, and no sooner had, past reason hated, as a swallowed bait, on purpose laid to make the taker mad, mad in pursuit, and in possession so, had, having, and in quest to have, extreme, a bliss in proof, and proved a very woe, before a joy proposed, behind a dream. All this the world well knows, yet none knows well, to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. What Sugared Terms by R. Lynch, written in the year 1596. What sugared terms, what all-persuading art, what sweet mellifluous words, what wounding looks, Love used for his admittance to my heart, such eloquence was never read in books. He promised pleasure, rest, and endless joy, fruition of the fairest she alive. His pleasure, pain, rest, trouble, joy, annoy, have I since found, which me of bliss deprive. The Trojan horse thus have I now let in, wherein enclosed these armed men were placed. Bright eyes, fair cheeks, sweet lips, and milk-white skin, these foes my life have overthrown and razed. For outward shows prove inwardly the worst. Love looketh fair, but lovers are accursed. Leave Me, O Love, by Sir Philip Sidney, written in the year 1581. Leave me, O love, which reaches but to dust, and thou, my mind, aspire to higher things. Grow rich in that which never taketh rust, whatever fades, but fading pleasure it brings. Draw in thy beams, and humble all thy might, to that sweet yoke where lasting freedoms be, which breaks the clouds and opens forth the light, that doth both shine and give us sight to see. O take fast hold, let that light be thy guide, in this small course which birth draws out to death. And think how evil becometh him to slide, who seeketh heaven and comes of heavenly breath. Then farewell, world, thy uttermost I see. Eternal love, maintain thy life in me. By This He Knew She Wept, by George Meredith, written in the year 1862. By this he knew, she wept with waking eyes, that, at his hand's light quiver by her head, the strange low sobs that shook their common bed were called into her with a sharp surprise, and strangled mute, like little gaping snakes, dreadfully venomous to him, she lay, stone still, and the long darkness flowed away. With muffled pulses, then, as midnight makes her giant heart of memory and tears, drink the pale drug of silence, and so beat sleep's heavy measure. They, from head to feet, were moveless, looking through their dead black years. By vain regret scrawled over the blank wall, like sculptured effigies, they might be seen. Upon their marriage tomb, the sword between, each wishing for the sword that severs all. Cherry Log Road, by James Dickey, written in the year 1964. Off Highway 106, at Cherry Log Road I entered, the 34 Ford without wheels, smothered in kudzu, with a seat pulled out to run corn whiskey down from the hills. And then from the other side crept into an Essex with a rumble seat of red leather, and then out again aboard a blue Chevrolet, releasing the rust from its other color. Reared up on 3 building blocks, none had the same body heat. I changed with them inward, toward the weedy heart of the junkyard. For I knew that Doris Holbrook would escape from her father at noon, and would come from the farm to seek parts owned by the son, among the abandoned chassis, sitting in each in turn, as I did leaning forward, as in a wild stock car race. In the parking lot of the dead, time after time I climbed in, and out the other side, like an envoy or movie star, met at the station by crickets. A radiator cap raised its head, become a real toad or a king snake, as I neared the hub of the yard, passing through many states many lives to reach some grandmother's long pierce arrow, sending platters of blindness forth from its nickel hubcaps and spilling its tender upholstery on sleepy roaches, the glass panel in between, lady and colored driver, not all the way broken out. The backseat phone, still on its hook. I got in as though to exclaim, "Let us go to the orphan asylum, John. I have some old toys for children who say their prayers." I popped with sweat as I thought. I heard Doris Holbrook scrape like a mouse in the southern states sun that was eating the paint in blisters. From 100 car tops and hoods, she was tapping like code. Loosening the screws, carrying off headlights, spark plugs, bumpers, cracked mirrors and gear knobs, getting ready already to go back with something to show. Other than her lips' new trembling, I would hold to me soon, soon. Where I sat in the ripped back seat, talking over the interphone, praying for Doris Holbrook to come from her father's farm, and to get back there with no trace of me on her face, to be seen by her red-haired father, who would change in the squalling barn, her back's pale skin with a strop, then lay for me. In a bootlegger's roasting car, with a string-triggered 12-gauge shotgun to blast the breath from the air, not cut by the jagged windshields. Through the acres of wrecks she came, with a wrench in her hand. Through dust where the black snake dies of boredom and the beetle knows the compost has no more life. Someone outside would have seen the oldest car's door inexplicably close from within. I held her and held her and held her, convoyed at terrific speed by the stalled, dreaming traffic around us, so the black snake, stiff with inaction, curved back into life and hunted the mouse. With deadly overexcitement, the beetles reclaimed their field. As we clung, glued together, with the hooks of the seat springs, working through to catch us red-handed amidst the gray, breathless batting that burst from the seat at our backs. We left by separate doors into the changed other bodies of cars she down Cherry Log Road, and I to my motorcycle, parked like the soul of the junkyard, restored, a bicycle fleshed, with power and tore off, up Highway 106 continually, drunk on the wind in my mouth, ringing the handlebar for speed, wild to be wreckage forever. Civilization and Its Discontents by John Ashbery, written in the year 1965. A people chained to Aurora, I alone disarming you. Millions of facts of distributed light, helping myself with some big boxes, up the steps, then turning to no neighborhood. The child's psalm, slightly sung. In the hall rushing into the small room, such fire leading away from destruction. Somewhere in outer ether I glimpsed you, coming at me. The solo barrier did it this time. Guessing us staying, true to be at the blue mark of the threshold. Tired of planning it again and again. The cool boy distant, and the soaked up afterthought, like so much rain or roof. The miracle took you in beside him. Leaves rushed the window. There was clear water and the sound of a lock. Now I never see you, much anymore. The summers are much colder than they used to be. In that other time, when you and I were young, I miss the human truth of your smile, the half-hearted gaze of your palms, and all things together. But there is no comic rain, only the facts you put to me. You must not, then, be very surprised if I am alone. It is all for you. The night and the stars and the way we used to be. There is no longer any use in harping on the incredible principle of day-long silence, the dark sunlight, as only the grass is beginning to know it. The wreath of the North Pole, festoons for the late return, the shy pensioners, a gasp on the lamp-lit air. What is agreeable is to hold your hand, the gravel underfoot. The time is for coming close. Useless, verbs shooting the other words far away. I had already swallowed the poison and could only gaze into the distance at my life, like a saint's with each day distinct. No heaviness in the upland pastures, nothing in the forest. Only life under the huge trees, like a coat that has grown too big, moving far away. Cutting swamps for men like lapdogs, holding its own, performing once again, for you and for me. Why Should a Foolish Marriage Vow? Written by John Dryden in the year 1671. Why should a foolish marriage vow, which long ago was made, oblige us to teach other now when passion is decayed? We loved and we loved as long as we could, till our love was loved out in us both. But our marriage is dead when the pleasure is fled. 'Twas pleasure first, made it an oath. If I have pleasures for a friend, and farther love in store, what wrong was he whose joys did end, and who could give no more? 'Tis a madness, that he should be jealous of me, or that I should bar him of another. For all we can gain is to give ourselves pain, when neither can hinder the other. Lessons of the War by Henry Reed, written in the year 1946. Not only far away, but the way that you say it is very important. Perhaps you may never get the knack of judging a distance, but at least you know how to report on a landscape, a central sector, the right of arc and that, which we had last Tuesday, and at least you know that maps are of time, not place, so far as the army happens to be concerned. The reason being is one which need not delay us. Again, you know, there are 3 kinds of tree, 3 only, the fir and the poplar, and those which have bushy tops too, and lastly, that things only seem to be things. A barn is not called a barn, to put it more plainly, or a field in the distance, where sheep may be safely grazing. You must never be oversure. You must say, when reporting, at 5 o'clock in the central sector is a dozen of what appear to be animals. Whatever you do, don't call the bleaters sheep. I'm sure that's quite clear, and suppose, for the sake of example, the one at the end, asleep, endeavors to tell us, what he sees over there to the west, and how far away, after first having come to attention, there to the west, on the fields of summer the sun and the shadows bestow vestments of purple and gold. The still white dwellings are like a mirage in the heat, and under the swaying elms a man and a woman lie gently together, which is perhaps only to say that there is a row of houses to the left of Ark, and that under some poplars a pair of what appear to be humans appear to be loving. Well, that, for an answer, is what we might rightly call moderately satisfactory only, the reason being is that two things have been omitted, and those are important. The human beings now, in what direction are they, and how far away would you say? And do not forget, there may be dead ground in between. There may be dead ground in between, and I may not have got the knack of judging a distance. I will only venture a guess that perhaps between me and the apparent lovers, who, incidentally, appear by now to have finished, at 7 o'clock from the houses is roughly a distance of about 1 year and a half. In Distrust of Merits by Marianne Moore, written in the year 1944. Strengthened to live, strengthened to die for, medals and position victories? They're fighting, fighting the blind man who thinks he sees, who cannot see that the enslaver is enslaved, the hater harmed. O shining, O firm star, O tumultuous ocean lashed till small things go, as they will, the mountainous wave makes us who look know depth. Lost at sea before they fought, O Star of David, Star of Bethlehem, a black imperial lion of the Lord, emblem of a risen world, be joined at last, be joined. There's hate's crown, beneath which all is, death. There's loves without which none is king. The blessed deed bless, the halo. As contagion of sickness make sickness, contagion of trust can make trust. They're fighting in the deserts and caves, one by one, in battalions and squadrons. They're fighting that I may yet recover from the disease. Myself, some have it lightly, some will die. Man's wolf to man, and we devour ourselves. The enemy could not have made a greater breach in our defenses. One piloting a blind man can escape him, but Job, disheartened by false comfort, knew that nothing can be so defeating as a blind man who can see. O alive who are dead, who are proud not to see, a small dust of the earth that walks so arrogantly. Trust begets power, and faith is an affectionate thing. We vow, we make this promise. To the fighting, it's a promise. We'll never hate black, white, red, yellow, Jew, Gentile, untouchable. We are not competent to make our vows. With set jaw they are fighting. Some we love whom we know. Some we love but know not, that hearts may feel and not be numb. It cures me, or am I what I can't believe in? Some in snow, some on crags, some in quicksands, little by little, much by much. They are fighting, that where there was death, there may be life. When a man is prey to anger, he is moved by outside things. When he holds his ground in patience, that is action or beauty. The soldier's defense, in hardest armor for the fight. The world's an orphan's home. Shall we never have peace without sorrow? without pleas of the dying for help that won't come? O quiet form upon the dust, I cannot look, and yet I must. At these great patient dyings, all these agonies, and wound bearings and bloodshed, can teach us how to live. These dyings were not wasted. Hate hardened heart, O heart of iron, iron is iron till it is rust. There never was a war that was not inward. I must fight till I have conquered in myself what causes war. But I would not believe it. I inwardly did nothing. Oh, Iscariot-like crime. Beauty is everlasting, and dust is for a time. (1887) by A.E. Housman, written in the year 1896. From Clee to heaven the beacon burns, the shires have seen it plain. From north and south the sign returns, and beacons burn again. Look left, look right, the hills are bright, the dales are light between, because 'tis 50 years tonight that God has saved the Queen. Now, when the flame they watch not towers, about the soil they trod, lads will remember friends of ours who shared the work with God. To skies that knit their heartstrings right, to fields that bred them brave, the saviors come not home tonight, themselves they could not save. It dawns in Asia, tombstones show, in Shropshire names are dead, and the Nile spills his overflow beside the Severn's dead. We pledge in peace by farm and town the Queen they served in war, and fire the beacons up and down the land they perished for. God save the Queen, we living sing, from height to height 'tis heard, and with the rest your voices ring, lads of the 53rd. Oh, God will save her, fear you not. Be you the men you've been. Get you the sons your fathers got, and God will save the Queen.
If you enjoyed today's reading and want to listen to more, I encourage you to follow our podcast or considering following our TikTok using the handle @lit_works. Thank you, and stay blessed.